Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be sharing about God was pointing out something. It's like a viral video that was going around, and it was showing this guy at a Dallas Cowboys game, and they were making fun of him. I don't know if he was on something or what it was, but he was just walking weird. Like his walk was like his back was even like bent back, and he was trying to walk down the stairs, and somebody had to come and help him. And so God told me to note that down. And so then yesterday he was just showing me again. He was like, this is what I want you to minister on. I want you to speak about what I've taught you. So anyways, an experience that I had years back before I even started this channel was an important thing that God taught me, and that is to always make time for him and to always put his calling for your life first. And so again, years before I started this channel, I was being a single mom. I was working 2 jobs. I could have gotten away with just working 1 job, but I wanted that extra money. I wanted to be able to spoil my daughters and just buy them everything that they wanted, basically. So I remember there was a time where I was getting ready to go to one of my jobs, and I was just driving around, and then all of a sudden, God started pointing out people with limps. Okay, so these were not just like little limps. These were big, like the whole body would just go like this. And of course, I'm not talking about, this is not talking bad about anybody who has a physical limp. This is a spiritual limp. So I thought it was kind of odd. I was like, okay, everywhere I went, I was just seeing people with limps. And then the Lord began to share with me. He says, you see those people that are walking like that? He goes, that's you. He says, that's what you look like in the spirit. And I was shocked. I was like, what? And then he was saying, yes. He says, because you're not walking in the calling that I've called you to. Your walk is off balance. In other words, he was telling me that it was mostly about money for me. Like my whole time was just, being a mom, you're always thinking about, okay, I want to buy this for my daughter. I want to buy this for her. I want to put her in this. Like your brain as a parent, as a good parent, would want to go all out for your kids, right? Give them the best life that you could possibly give them. And so God was pointing that out to me. He was saying, you're not walking in your calling. Yes, you're ministering to people at work, but that's not the only thing that I've called you to do. And then I was starting to notice little things here and there, like my oldest was acting out. My daughters were upset with me. They were saying I was never home. I was always at work. My youngest, she was just crying, saying, Mommy, you're never here. You never spend time with me. And so God was just telling me, he says, you're not making time for your calling, your ministry. And of course, your first ministry is your kids. You're supposed to be there for them and to steward what God is telling you. So I don't know, that creeped me out, just seeing that's how I looked in the spirit. Like I was not walking right. So I let go of one of the jobs. Things got better. I started being there for my daughters, very hands-on. I noticed that my daughters started, really blossoming, and just, my daughters have their own gifts, their own ministries that they have to grow into. And so it's my job as a parent to school them, to cover them in whatever they need. So going back to the guy at the football game, God was highlighting that last night. He was telling me that that's how a lot of his people are right now. And he showed me the example of this man, that he was walking really weird. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But I noticed that he had on a Dallas Cowboys jersey, and the number of this jersey was 88. And so I looked up the actual player for this jersey, and the Lord started to speak to me, and he was pointing out the name of the player. I don't know if I'm saying this right. Gideon de Leon. Okay, so you get the first part of his name, and it's cedar. His first name means cedar, which is a certain wood that they used to build Solomon's temple. And then the leon means of the lion. And so in other words, this is godly men that are building the temple, that are building the kingdom. And 88 in the Greek, it means unceasing. And in Hebrew, it's water skins, which is a covering. So I believe this player is symbolic for a leader, for maybe representing Christ, right? Because this guy had a jersey, and it was like a covering. So it's like this guy had on this main player's jersey, but he wasn't walking right. He was beginning to highlight. Also, he was showing me back to school. You know, when you take your kid shopping, when you take them shopping for clothes to go back to school. And he highlighted 2 stores to me, and I'm not going to say the names, but one had a godly meaning and the other one had a bad meaning. So in other words, he was saying, just like you're schooling your kids, there's other people schooling their kids, but on the opposite side of the kingdom, right? So he was saying that there's a lot of his sons and daughters, this can be men or women, there's a lot of sons and daughters that are walking. They have the anointing, they have the authority, the power behind them to be doing their calling, but they're sitting in the stands. You know, when he was sharing with me back to school, he was saying there's some people that instead of being teachers, they're trying to sit down as if they're students. You know, this word isn't for everybody, but if God is already showing you that you are a leader, you need to start walking in that. He was saying, some of my people are in the stands instead of being in the game. Some of my people are supposed to be teaching the time. So in other words, you're not making the time for your calling. You're not walking in your calling. You're walking limp, walking with a limp. And so he gave me the number 71, which in the Greek it means to lead, to guide. And then in the Hebrew it says it's a test of worldly impressiveness and godly obedience. Okay, so this is like a test. The thing that he highlighted was about a week ago, he was giving me I'm a big time like coffee drinker. That's my go-to every morning. And so I noticed that he was telling me to stop drinking coffee and to pick up tea. And I was like, okay. It was a little bit of a struggle, but I was listening. So I left the coffee alone and I started drinking tea. And I'm thinking, okay, why tea? And then he started bringing me up the letter T. He just kept showing me the letter T. And so then I was led to go look it up in the Greek. And so if you look at the letter T in the Greek, it is, I think it's called tau. And the value of the tau is the 19th letter in the Greek, and its value is 300. Okay, so when he showed me that, I was like, okay, 300. And then of course it came to me, it was like, okay, Gideon. This is like a Gideon story, like those that are not too sure about starting up. You know, it's like that extra push that you need, like Gideon did. Okay, and so the letter T, and I was like, okay, at first I didn't understand, but then I looked it up. You know, it's funny that God would show me sports, because I'm not a sports person. I think the only sport that I actually watch is boxing, but he really got me to study this. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's the letter T. It says that there was like in the 1900s, there was like how they call it, they revolutionized football, because they had a single wing formation, a double wing formation, but they said that the sport was boring. So what happened was they revolutionized football by bringing in the T formation. So before the T formation, football was not a big deal until they did this. Okay, so if you feel led to go read Gideon, it's in Judges. Another thing that God was showing me was this is a shift that's taking place, right? So it's like once his people take their place and they start walking in their calling, they start getting in the game. You know, the Cowboys, he used Dallas Cowboys because of the meaning, right? So Cowboys, you know, when you're a person that, you know, like the Bible says, you're putting your hand to the plow, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in the kingdom. That's kind of like a cowboy, right? You know your way around a farm. And so, and it's funny because I took this note down on June 30th, which, you know, 30th means maturity. So you, whoever this word is for, you are a mature person in the spirit. You know your way around when it comes to ministering. But God is saying this is like a back to school kind of thing. You are a teacher, not a student. So he's saying, while students are going back to school, a lot of students in the spirit are going back to school, the teachers have to take their positions. And what God had to teach me was that my kids were my first priority, not just financially, physically, but spiritually. I had to put down what I thought was right and put godly kingdom priorities first. And so whatever that looks like to you, whether it be your kids, your grandkids, even starting a channel, whatever God is calling you to do ministry wise, God is saying stop sitting in the stands and get in the game. He was reminding me, he's saying, while my people are being schooled, the other side is schooling theirs too. Make sure that you're being there to cover those that are supposed to be your responsibility, which is obviously your home first, and then whatever calling God has called you to. He's saying it is the time. The shift has already happened. Another thing that he was sharing with me was this is a major shift that's going on. You know, for it being today, the 21st, he really highlighted that to me. And usually 21 is not a really good number because it symbolizes, usually it doesn't symbolize a good number, but God was saying that there was a shift. So now it's towards good. So it's like, okay, the number 21 is 7 3 times. So if you've been seeing the number 777, God is speaking to you about a shift. This is a shift that's going on right now. And so again, God is saying, stop looking from the stands, stop behaving like a student and just watching everybody else walk in their calling. You are a teacher. You are supposed to be teaching right now. You're supposed to be being somebody's covering. You're not supposed to be sitting in the stands. You're supposed to be in the game. So with this word, take this word to God. Ask him if this is for you. I pray that it blessed who it is for. And I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless.